Flirting isn't always easy. Sure, there are some guys who seem to be naturals, effortlessly charming their way into any conversation. But for most of us, flirting doesn't come naturally. And when you're around someone you're really into, your confidence can take a dive, leaving you tongue-tied and second-guessing every move. But here's the good news: flirting is a skill, not some magical talent you're born with. That means anyone can learn it, including you. By the end of this video, you'll not only know how to flirt with confidence, but you'll also understand how to avoid the #1 mistake that could sabotage your chances. So, let's dive right into it. Let's start with tip number 6, confidence. Now, I know what you're thinking. Everyone says be confident, but how do I actually do that? Confidence is more than just a feeling. It's an attitude, a way of presenting yourself that tells the world, I'm comfortable with who I am. But here's the secret: confidence isn't something you either have or you don't. It's something you can build, and it starts with the way you carry yourself. Your body language speaks louder than words. If you stand tall, with your shoulders back, and take up space, you're sending a clear message: you're confident, even if you don't necessarily feel that way inside. This is what we call faking it until you make it. Because guess what? Your body can trick your mind. When you adopt confident body language, your brain starts to follow suit, and before you know it, that fake confidence becomes real. So, here's what you do: next time you're around someone you're interested in, focus on your posture. Stand tall, chin up, and make yourself as open as possible. Avoid crossing your arms or slouching; these are signs of insecurity. Instead, imagine yourself as the most confident version of you, even if it feels a little strange at first. Over time, it won't feel strange, it'll feel natural. And when you start acting confident, you'll become confident. Confidence also extends to your mindset. A confident person believes in their value and knows that their worth isn't defined by someone else's opinion. That means when you're flirting, you're not desperately seeking validation. You're simply enjoying the interaction, showing your interest without feeling like your entire self-worth is on the line. This mindset shift can make a huge difference in how you approach flirting. Now, let's move on to tip number 5, eye contact. Eye contact is one of the most powerful tools you have when flirting. Think about it: when someone holds your gaze, even for just a few seconds, it creates an instant connection. It says, I see you, and I'm interested in you. But I get it, holding eye contact can be intimidating, especially when you're talking to someone you're really attracted to. Here's the thing: most people, when they make eye contact, look away quickly. They're afraid of coming off as creepy or intense. But when you break eye contact too soon, it signals insecurity. You're essentially telling the other person, I'm too nervous to hold your gaze. On the flip side, when you maintain eye contact, even for just 3 seconds, you're showing that you're confident and comfortable in your skin. Now, 3 seconds might not sound like a long time, but when you're in the moment, it can feel like an eternity. So how do you do it without feeling awkward? The key is to soften the intensity by adding a smile or a nod. These small gestures make the eye contact feel more natural and less intimidating. And if you're feeling bold, throw in a playful wink. Just make sure it's in the right context, and that you've gauged her response. But remember, the goal is to create a connection, not to make the other person uncomfortable. If she doesn't hold your gaze or seems uneasy, back off. Eye contact should feel engaging, not confrontational. And if you're really confident, you can use eye contact to invite her into the conversation. If she holds your gaze and smiles back, it's a clear sign that she's interested. That's your cue to approach or continue the conversation. Next, we have tip number 4, humor. Humor is a game changer when it comes to flirting. Why? Because laughter is one of the fastest ways to break down barriers and build a connection. When you make someone laugh, you're not just entertaining them, you're creating a shared experience, something that both of you can enjoy in the moment. But, and this is a big but, there's a right way and a wrong way to use humor when flirting. Let's start with the right way. The best kind of humor in flirting is light, playful, and fun. You want to create a sense of ease and enjoyment, not make the other person feel uncomfortable. A well-placed joke or playful comment can diffuse tension, make the interaction feel more relaxed, and show that you don't take yourself too seriously. Women are drawn to men who can make them laugh, but there's a fine line between being funny and trying too hard. So here's the rule: use humor sparingly. Aim for about 3 well-timed jokes or playful comments in a conversation. Start with something light to break the ice, maybe throw in another joke in the middle to keep the conversation flowing, and finish with a playful comment as you wrap things up. This creates a nice rhythm and keeps the interaction engaging without overloading it with humor. Now, let's talk about the wrong way to use humor: self-deprecating jokes. It might be tempting to make fun of yourself to seem humble or relatable, but be careful. If you overdo it, you can come across as insecure, which is the opposite of what you want. A little self-deprecation is okay, but only if it's about something that's obviously not a big deal. Never make fun of something you're genuinely insecure about; it sends the wrong message. Tip number 3: teasing is where things get really interesting. Teasing is one of the most effective ways to create playful tension in a conversation. It's a way of saying, "I like you, but I'm not putting you on a pedestal." When you tease someone, you're showing that you're confident enough to joke around and keep things light. But here's the key: teasing should always be playful, never mean-spirited. So how do you tease in a way that builds attraction? One way is to tease her about something small, like her taste in music or the fact that she's always late. The goal is to keep it light and fun, not to make her feel bad. For example, if she tells you she loves a certain band, you could say, "Really? I didn't take you for someone with such questionable taste in music." But you say it with a smile, letting her know you're just messing with her. The best part about teasing is that it creates a little back-and-forth dynamic. She might push you playfully or tease you back, and that's exactly what you want. It's like a game, you're both in on the joke, and it keeps the conversation fun and engaging. But remember, always gauge her reaction. If she's not laughing or seems uncomfortable, ease up. Teasing should never cross the line into making someone feel bad. Now, let's talk about tip number 2, touch. Touch is one of the most powerful ways to build attraction, but it's also one of the trickiest to get right. The key to using touch effectively is to be subtle and respectful. You're not trying to invade her personal space, you're simply adding a little physical connection to the interaction. Think of it as a way to break the ice and create a sense of closeness. Start with small, casual touches. For example, when you're making a joke or teasing her, you could lightly touch her arm or give her a playful nudge. These small gestures show that you're comfortable with physical contact without being too forward. Another great opportunity to use touch is when you're leaving the interaction. A light touch on her shoulder or arm as you say goodbye can leave a lasting impression. But here's the thing: touch is all about timing and reading her body language. If she seems receptive, you can continue with small touches throughout the conversation. If she pulls back or seems uncomfortable, back off immediately. The goal is to make her feel comfortable and intrigued, not overwhelmed or pressured. When done right, touch can create a subtle sense of intimacy that words alone can't achieve. Finally, we have tip number 1, avoid overusing sarcasm. Sarcasm can be tricky when it comes to flirting. In the right context, it can be funny and clever, but in the wrong context, it can come off as mean or dismissive. If sarcasm is a big part of your sense of humor, that's great, but be careful about using it too early in a conversation. In the beginning, sarcasm can be misinterpreted, and you don't want to risk coming across as harsh or critical. A good rule of thumb is to save sarcasm for later. Once you've already built a fun, positive connection, start with playful, lighthearted teasing, and as the interaction progresses, you can introduce a bit of sarcasm if it feels right. But always make sure that your sarcasm is playful and not cutting. The last thing you want is for her to feel like you're making fun of her or putting her down.